Here are animals that have been hanging around for millions of years. Number 7. The horseshoe crab. Horseshoe crabs are ancient-looking creatures with hard shells on their backs. They almost look like they don't belong in our time period, as if they somehow skipped evolving along with the rest of the species on our planet. However, it's not that they didn't evolve, rather it was really that there wasn't any outward pressure from a competitor causing them to leap forward, so they evolved at a slower rate. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Hey, I'm always for improvement, but that's just me. Anyways, fossils of horseshoe crab ancestors can be found dating back as far as 500 million years, but they're recognizably different from the horseshoe crabs that can be found today. On the other hand, fossils from roughly 150 million years ago look extremely similar to modern-day horseshoe crabs. This means that for the last 150 million years, horseshoe crabs have found a comfortable niche to fill in the animal kingdom. Hey, they can't complain about that nice little run. Fun fact, these days we actually harvest horseshoe crab blood for medical purposes. The blood of a horseshoe crab is blue because its use of hemocyanin to carry oxygen instead of hemoglobin, the stuff that makes our blood red. Number 6. Duck-billed platypus. The duck-billed platypus looks basically like a real-life cartoon, with a duck-like bill for a mouth, an otter-like body, and a beaver-like tail. Coming in at nearly 2 feet long, these mammals hunt small prey very effectively underwater by scraping up insects, larvae, shellfish, and worms from the seabed. The platypus is a nearly unique mammal in that only itself and the spiny anteater lay eggs to reproduce. Not only that, the platypus is also one of very few mammals that produce venom. Male platypus have spurs on their heels that secrete venom. Their glands only produce venom during mating season, leading many scientists to believe that it's primarily for competition between males rather than protection from its predators. In the event that you're unlucky enough to get into a fight with a male platypus while it's trying to mate, here are some things you should know about the venom. It's not lethal to humans, but it causes intense pain almost immediately. If you ever get stung, there will be swelling, and following the swelling, the area will develop hyperalgesia for up to a few months, meaning that it'll be more sensitive to other sources of pain. Yeah, just a few months. I'm good on that. While it seems that the platypus can only be described as strange, but how did they exactly end up this way? Approximately 160 million years ago, mammals were still evolving from reptiles. Platypus are a member of a group of animals called monotremes, one of the earliest offshoots of the mammalian family. Because of its early divergence from the other mammals, it still retains many traits similar to reptiles and birds, such as laying eggs and having a beak. Monotremes are a great example of the randomness of evolution. If a certain trait helps an animal to stay alive, obviously it will pass on its traits. Somehow, all these strange parts of the platypus combined to form an animal that was successful enough to survive for hundreds of millions of years. Number 5. Crocodiles. Crocodiles are truly terrifying animals as they have jaws capable of delivering a bite of up to 3,700 pounds per square inch of bite force. They hunt efficiently by hiding until prey comes in range, then lunging faster than you could blink. Once they have a hold of their prey, there's pretty much no chance of escape, as crocodiles are able to hold on with the strongest bite force of any animal on the planet. Once they have their prey in their jaws, they then pull their prey underwater to drown it. While the crocodiles, of today, have remained relatively unchanged for millions of years, their ancestors have actually been around a lot longer than that. Crocodiles share a common ancestor with their cousin dinosaurs. And crocodiles evolved into what they are today over 65 million years ago. The archosaur was the ruling land lizard of the time, and it evolved with both dinosaurs and crocodiles around 200 to 300 million years ago. Believe it or not, members of the crocodilian family were often fairly small at that time. Many of them were quick, agile land creatures, sometimes even running on just 2 legs. Some of them were even vegetarians. Around 200 million years ago, crocodiles went for a swim, likely as a result of the dinosaurs becoming the new lords of the land, and the water is where they stayed to evolve. The new habitat for crocs helped them to develop the features they have today: long bodies with powerful jaws. Around 100 million years ago, they actually started getting bigger. It was around this time in the Cretaceous period that the largest crocodile in history lived. This monstrous croc was called the Sarcosuchus, or as National Geographic likes to call it, the super croc. Since the Sarcosuchus continued to grow for its whole life, this ancient croc could reach lengths of up to 40 feet, which is nearly double the length of the largest known modern crocodile, the saltwater crocodile. Yo, if I ever saw a 40-foot crocodile in real life, I'd seriously consider switching continents. Luckily for us, and a lot of small animals out there, the descendants of this massive croc went extinct, and a slightly smaller crocodile, the Dinosuchus, evolved into what we have today. Number 4. Coelacanth. The coelacanth is a fish that was thought to have gone extinct approximately 65 million years ago during the extinction event that took down the dinosaurs. This fish was known only from fossil records until back in 1938, when one of these guys was found living in the western Indian Ocean. So how old exactly is the Coelacanth species? Well, scientists have found fossils from as far back as roughly 360 million years ago, making it even older than the crocs, though it's not the oldest animal species on this list. The coelacanth was long considered a living fossil because it was believed to be the sole remaining member of a taxon otherwise known only from fossils with no close relations alive. However, several recent studies have shown that coelacanth body shapes are much more diverse than previously thought. According to a genetic analysis of current species, the divergence of coelacanths, lungfish, and tetrapods is thought to have occurred about 390 million years ago. Some scientists believe that coelacanth is actually one of the missing links in the evolution from fish to four-legged terrestrial animals, but there's a bit of controversy and dissent around this topic. There are other scientists claiming that it's actually just a close relative to the ancestor of tetrapods. I bet dinner conversations and happy hours with these research scientists are just scintillating. Phew! Anyways, unfortunately, although the coelacanth isn't extinct, it is critically endangered. There are only 2 known species of coelacanth, making it an extremely rare fish and one that may be gone not too long from now. But hey, even with all the disagreements with what exactly happened with this fish, much props to them for swimming around for this long. Number 3. Nautilus. Fossils of early ancestors of the Nautilus have been found as far back as 550 million years ago, close to the very beginning of complex animal life. Between 505 and 408 million years ago, giant nautiluses with straight shells dominated the ocean, since they were larger and more capable of swimming than the other residents of the sea. Their shells protected their bodies from predators while also providing chambers that could be filled with gas, giving them a natural buoyancy. Although only a few members of this family remain today, the species was once extremely diverse. Somewhere in the last 500 million years, these cephalopods diverged into multiple species such as squid and octopi, making these species very distant relatives of the Nautilus. However, the modern Nautilus family can be traced back to the late Triassic, roughly 215 million years ago. As most species have done in the last few million years, Nautiluses have become smaller, now measuring a little less than 1 foot in diameter at most. Their shells are curved and are one of the best examples of a logarithmic spiral that can be found in nature today. Okay, I'm not really that big science nerd, but even I gotta admit that's pretty cool. Nautiluses typically scavenge for food, and they're capable of living in lower oxygen conditions. This resilience may explain how they've survived the extinction events at the end of the Cretaceous. You may be wondering why the Nautilus looks so familiar. If you're a Pokemon fan, you've probably seen the ancient fossil Pokemon, Ammonite. Ammonite looks very similar to the Nautilus, and even its gender ratio in the game is similar to what we know about Nautiluses in real life, with about 85% of them being male. Why do I know that? It's because of something called Google, and not because I'm spending hours each day dedicated to catching Pokemon or anything. Yeah, unfortunately, nautiluses live a few hundred meters below the surface of the ocean, so we probably won't be exactly catching one anytime soon in real life. Number 2, goblin shark. Sometimes called a living fossil because of its primitive features, the goblin shark is the only known representative of the Mitsukurinidae family. As a species, the goblin shark appears to be unchanged for the last 40 million years, but scientists noticed many similarities between the goblin shark and Scaponorhynchus, an extinct Mesozoic shark. The goblin shark has a long snout shaped like the blade of a sword and a thin body covered with dermal denticles, which are small tooth-like projections. It has a slightly pink color because of its blood vessels being so close to its skin, and it has a few small fins. Many of these features lead scientists to believe that it's a slow-moving shark. Luckily for the goblin shark, it's still capable of hunting in its own way. It can detect slight electrical fields that are produced by nearby prey, with its long snout that's covered with ampullae of Lorenzini, which are special sensing electroreceptors that's basically a network of jelly-filled pores. Combine its nose and its limited sight, the goblin shark can hunt for fish, cephalopods, and crustaceans both near the sea floor and in the middle of the water column. The goblin shark moves slowly enough towards its prey to avoid alarming it, and then it snatches it up with a quick motion of its mouth. To make things easier for itself, its jaws can extend, allowing it to catch prey before they can even react. This shark is about 1.5 times the size of an average man, and it lives and hunts on upper continental slopes, roughly 270 to 1,000 meters below the water surface. Small numbers of goblin sharks are unintentionally caught by deep water fisheries, but the International Union for Conservation of Nature has assessed goblin sharks as least concern despite its rarity because of its wide distribution and low incidence of capture. Number 1. Jellyfish. You may have seen a jellyfish before if you've been to the ocean, but in the most likely case, you probably haven't seen jellyfish most of the time they're around, as they're actually pretty difficult to see. Jellyfish are overpopulated in a lot of areas and sometimes venomous to touch, leading us to classify jellyfish as a nuisance. Here's a news flash. Some species of jellyfish are deadly even to humans, just in case you didn't know. In recent years, certain industries have lowered the populations of some natural predators of jellyfish, leading to the huge overpopulation of jellyfish. Basically, humans are making it a lot easier for jellyfish to grow in number, and it's having a real impact on the ecosystem of the ocean. Massive amounts of jellyfish means that massive amounts of plankton are eaten, so much so that it's affecting other species that also rely on plankton as a source of food. It really goes without saying that jellyfish pose a threat to human activities too. Some beaches are so overpopulated with jellyfish that you can't go swimming without wading through a whole pack of them. Since their stings range from painful to deadly, it's basically just totally sucks getting stung. But while the number of jellyfish in recent years has been growing, they've been around stinging things for a long, long time. Jellyfish are ancient animals dating as far back as 500 million years. Some scientists believe that they were one of the first complex life forms, though there's no consensus on that yet. For the last 500 million years, jellyfish have done pretty much nothing to evolve except survive. They have the most basic nervous system known to man and don't do much except eat, reproduce, and annoy people. They have no brain, so they just float around, automatically responding to any stimuli around them. They orient themselves based on light sources, and they sense heat and various other things around them in order to survive and eat. So far, it seems that even their lack of intelligence can't keep their numbers down. Hey, is it just me, or do jellyfish remind you of certain groups of people? Seriously, how did the word jellyfish not ever become an insult? Here's what's next.
They assumed it had been eating their livestock. Fearing the snake may strike again, they decided to kill it. After all, they need livestock to make a living, so it was the best decision for them. However, when they killed the snake and cut it open, they were surprised to find a whole bunch of eggs in it.